These seminars are one of my favorite parts of the year when it comes to Jiu-Jitsu. I love getting this caliber of an instructor out here to help us all out, and every time I take something away, I change something about my game. So thank you very much, and guys, it wouldn't be possible for us to bring dinner out unless you guys supported like you do. So thank you so much. I appreciate you coming out. Let's have a great time, sir.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for... like Alex said, I've come out a couple times a year, and I remember talking to a bunch of you guys yesterday while we were eating that you guys didn't know that I was out here. So if you guys leave Dan, or I think Dan, your email, they'll send out an email every time I'm coming to town, so that way it kind of gives you guys first dibs on coming to the seminar. You know, we have a small room, and I know a lot of people tried to come in late, and because we were already sold out, try to keep it a little bit of a smaller group so that everyone kind of gets a little bit more one-on-one attention. With that, thank you guys all for being here. This is awesome. What an amazing turnout. Super excited to be here with you guys today. We are going to be covering cross-side escapes today, escaping from the bottom, which I think is one of the biggest problems in Jiu-Jitsu. I think most people struggle with being underneath, especially if someone's really big and heavy. Once you get underneath, kind of how to escape from that bottom position. So we'll be talking a lot. I'm going to talk to you guys, share with you guys a lot of concepts and ideas that I think are very different than what is typically taught in a lot of Jiu-Jitsu schools. So this seminar is for you guys. You know, so I encourage you guys, if you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to raise your hand and ask. I'm happy to, you know, to explain in more detail if you know there's something that you don't understand. And as you guys are practicing, if you guys have problems, raise your hand and ask, and I'm happy to come by and help out. Okay. So with that, does anyone have anything you want to say before we get started? All right. So while I'm teaching, you guys just kind of gather around and make yourself comfortable. Yeah. Let me see. Or can I use you? So we're going to talk a little bit about what happens once your guard gets passed. Once your guard gets passed, normally people end up taking a cross-side position, right? And normally what happens is, so you're going around, you go to pass my guard, people are putting their hands here like this to defend, to keep our opponent away. But what happens is, with my arms reaching out, if you just put some weight on me, do you see what happens, how I start to go to my back? Okay. So the problem with using our hands once the guard has been passed is, one, the arms are pretty weak limbs. And two, for me using my hands, if I have to deal with any pressure, if there's any pressure that comes on my hands, what happens is I start to go flat to my back. Now, that's one of the huge things we always talk about from the bottom of the cross-side position. We never want to be flat on our back, right? You guys know that. You always hear your instructor saying, get to your side, get to your side. When you're on the bottom, you want to get to your side. But what you can see is any type of pressure on my hand or my arm ends up flattening me on my back. Okay? And so one of the biggest tools that I feel was really helpful for even preventing the person from putting you flat on your back is establishing the underhook. Okay? So what happens is, anytime someone goes to pass my guard, my hand is immediately already underneath his armpit. Okay. So this will be a huge tool to help you guys, because now as you go to pass, go ahead and pass, and flatten me out. You see how he can't flatten me out? Flatten me out? No. If he doesn't have my arm, even from here, a lot of people use this arm as a frame, but once weight starts to come on my arm, I start to get smashed on the bottom. The other thing is, that is a huge element that he needs, this underhook, in order, because a lot of people use the head and arm control, right? Is that more common with a lot of people? This type of control. Once he has the ability that he has the underhook, now I'm in a lot of trouble. This is a very difficult position to escape, because my elbow and my shoulder are under control. Okay? So that's just something that's really, really important to understand. The main two elements that the person on top needs to be able to control you are your shoulders and your elbow. Those are the two elements that the person on top needs to control in order to be able to hold you on the bottom of the cross-leg position. And so our job is to always take away those two elements. So when you were passing here, after you got around and I said flatten me out, you kept trying to grab my elbow, right? Because you couldn't get my shoulder flat. So watch what happens. So I'm here. If he has control of my elbow, just lift my elbow up. I go flat. So what I was doing, I was immediately tucking my elbow, right? And so go flatten me out. Which then allows me to get back to my knee very easy and come back on top. So the first thing I want us to play around with a little bit is just start to get used to diving this hand in for the underhook anytime someone goes around a pass, because once they pass, the last thing we want to do is get flattened on our back. That's really when we get stuck. We get flattened on our back, and then the person kind of establishes their hand positioning, and then it becomes a very, very difficult situation to escape. So I want you guys to play around with just letting the person walk around. So no problem, he's walking around. But my hand is already diving, and as my hand dives in, I'm already straightening my arm and turning my shoulder into him. So go. So this is taking zero effort from me. You feel that? You feel how hard it is to hit me flat on my back or not?
From that position, are you doing anything to stop him from just walking around to the other side of your head?
Walking this way? No, not right now. If he walks around this way, I'm already to my knees. So the thing is, and this is what's important to understand about flattening me out. In order for him to flatten me out so you're on your side, remember, the two elements we need are what? Shoulder and elbow control. Okay? And so if I can connect my chest to his shoulder, no, just wait. So if I connect my chest to his shoulder, I can flatten him out. As soon as I go here, it's very difficult for him to it's very difficult for me to flatten him out. I need to stay perpendicular to him, okay, in order to drive him and flatten him. So once I start to lose this angle, once I'm not perpendicular, so right now you feel how I have control of your shoulder, Thor?
Yep.
And you can get flattened. As soon, just move, wait, just move your hip out a little bit. There. He changed the angle of his hip. Do you feel I can flatten you?
Nope.
Okay, now watch. As I walk around, do you feel I can flatten you? So,
Can you create that same pressure on the back of his shoulder though to flatten him the other way from
this way,
Like if you come around this way.
and push this way.
that same-
But then I'm going to push him to his belly. I don't want him on his belly because then he's back on his knees. And then, which is something we will cover tomorrow. We're going to talk about turtle position. So what you're saying is if I do something like this, see, I don't want this situation where he's on his knees. I lost control already because the whole purpose of passing the guard was to keep him flat on his back, right? I want to be on top. Now I'm above him, but from that position when he's underneath, he actually has a lot of ability to take the top position. Yeah, that makes sense. So let's play around with that, guys, a little bit. I want you guys to play around with getting the underhook and staying on your side and feeling if the person on the top can flatten you out. Remember, it's a lot of turning your shoulder. So once they pass, underhook and make sure you keep your shoulder turned. All right?
Guys, we have ice water and cups over there too.
My partner is like a phenomenal kickboxing instructor, and he was teaching me how to throw a punch one day. And he was talking about when we throw a punch, if I actually turn my shoulder and rotate my hand, I get another 1 or 2 inches out of the punch. So I get a little bit more reach because when my hand goes out here, actually, can you stand up just so you can see? If I just straighten my arm here, right, my hand goes up. But as soon as I start to turn my shoulder, I get a few more inches out of the punch. So, and those, when you're fighting, those 1 or 2 inches make a world of difference, right? If I can hit my opponent from further out. And so just from seeing that movement, I realized if I want to stretch my shoulder, just from me turning my hand down and rotating my arm, okay? So I'm not trying to grab him, I'm just trying to stretch my arm, and I turn my thumb down, okay? From here, go, flatten me out. So you can see I'm not even doing anything with my feet. It's just the position of my body and my shoulder that really prevents him from being able to flatten me out, right? And now what you guys should feel is even though you're on top and you've passed the guard, which for most people in Jiu-Jitsu, hey, you passed the guard, you're in the top position, you should, that's a dominant position, right? You should feel comfortable. But do you feel comfortable? No. You don't feel like you have control, right? So that's kind of a weird feeling to be in the dominant position, past the guard, which is what you're supposed to do, right, to establish, and then all of a sudden, even after you've achieved everything you wanted, you still don't feel good. Does that make sense? So play around with, instead of grabbing, because I saw a lot of people grabbing, turn your arm, and my hand stretches past it. The goal for me is to stretch my arm past it. So, and this will be important for some of the escapes that we do later. So just from here, go flatten. See how he wants to get inside? Now he can fly. Alright, so I'm always, even when he goes to get his hand inside, I never allow him to pummel under. Can't allow him to control my shoulder, right? So play around with that a little bit, guys, and then we'll start to talk about if I get flattened out, and we'll go from there. You have a question?
How do you like to pummel? Like, do you start to get the underhook? How do you, without having to?
So there's a lot of sensitivity in my arm. When you try to go pummel in, look what you're gonna do. Go ahead and pummel in. You see how you have to bring it in front of my arm?
Mm-hmm.
So I just do this.
Okay.
So from here, when you go to pummel in, go pummel in.